Today I'm going to talk about generating leads online for your business and how you guys can do that. But I'd like to start off by telling you a story. And it's a story about a company many of you will be familiar with. As I'm sure you're all quite aware, the last few years haven't been too kind to HMV. And I think the following statistics actually sum this up very nicely. In 2002, when they're at their peak, they floated on the stock market with a value of £1 billion, share value of £1.92. Exactly 10 years on to the day, HMV were worth just £15 million with a share value of 3p. So what on earth happened? Well, a very good person to ask is a guy called Philip Beeching. Now, Philip Beeching ran a marketing agency that had the account around the turn of the century. And he's written a very interesting article that you can find online called Why Companies Fail, The Rise and Fall of HMV. And in 2002, HMV appointed a new CEO. As I'm sure many of you are aware, when a new CEO comes in, they like to have a clean sweep, ask all the suppliers to tender again. And that's exactly what this gentleman did. So Philip Beeching was quite put off. He'd seen them rise to $1 billion agency, and now they're asking him to retender. But him and his team had some data, some very interesting stuff for HMV to warn them about what was coming in the future. So they came and they turned up and they pitched to the CEO. And they told him there were 3 threats to HMV. One of them was online retailers. The other one was downloadable music from iTunes. And the third was supermarkets discounting music. And the CEO looked visibly angry. And he slammed his fist on the desk and said he'd never heard such rubbish. That downloadable music was just a fad. I mean, why would anyone want to download music when they can go into a real record shop and buy it themselves? And I think we know what happened. And it's interesting to note over the last 10 years, and probably actually 15, that new companies, new names such as Amazon, iTunes, Play, have become household names for us now. And the likes of HMV are disappearing. Think about Blockbuster. Imagine if Blockbuster had thought about Netflix or LoveFilm actually around the turn of the millennia. They could have actually grown their businesses. Now here's the thing. You're the expert in your industry. I'm not here today to say, you know what, you all need to be going on Google AdWords, you all need to be looking at generating leads online. But when Anthony asked me to come and present to you guys, I decided to send out a survey because I want to actually give you some value. I don't want to just talk about the things I'm interested in. I want to find out what you guys want to know. And a number of you did fill out the survey. And I believe that marketing is about return on investment. You've invested your time, your energy to be here today. And there are 3 things that Don't Travel Empty members want to know. They want to know how to generate more leads from their existing websites. So these are the 3 things the majority of people who filled out the survey said they wanted to know. They want to understand how brokers get their leads. Some companies are relying too heavily on brokers. They want to know, what are they doing? Can I do the same and actually get the leads for cheaper? And they also want to have a better understanding of SEO, how to rank higher on Google. So I put together a presentation today that will cover all 3 of those points. And my goal is to give you guys a solid foundation understanding into Google. I want you to be able to look at your competitors and say, well, how are they generating leads online? So I'm going to show you some tools so you can actually look at your competitors, any competitor you can think of, and we can dissect their entire internet marketing strategy, see what they're up to. And I want you guys, by the end of the day, just to feel a bit more confident about this whole space. Because as James pointed out, there are a lot of cowboys, there's a lot of people saying different things. And the truth is, it's a relatively new space. So I want to start with keywords. Who actually knows what a keyword is when I say keyword? Anyone?
Is that what they call meta data or something like that? Maybe stuff you put, that helps the search engines find what you...
Yeah, similar. So what a keyword is, it's a search term. It's what someone puts in to a search engine. And we want to know what are the right keywords for you, because you guys are probably based in different parts of the country. You probably have slightly different customers. Some might be going for economy coach hire, some might be going for luxury and high end. I want to figure out, well, what is the best keyword for me? What are my customers typing into Google? And the way to do that is to conduct what we call keyword research. And there's a brilliant tool to help you out with this, and it's free. It's called the Google Keyword Planner. Now, I first got involved with internet marketing about 8 years ago. And when I discovered this tool, I knew I'd found something fascinating. Because what Google will tell you is you type in any keyword, any search term, and it will tell you exactly how many people are typing that word in each month. So if we take an example here, actually that doesn't zoom in well. Take an example here, coach hire. On average, 8,100 people in the UK are typing in coach hire. You might think, well, that's a bit too broad for me. Fine. What about coach hire Birmingham? If you're based in Birmingham, on average, every month, 590 people are searching for it. So that's 590 potential customers for you. And if your website appears in front of that, at the top of Google, when people are looking for it, then they can come to your website and you can start being part of this vision Anthony talks about you getting on with running your company and you're getting leads from your website. And that's what I'm involved in, having your website as a virtual salesman. Now, why does Google give us this data? It's not because it likes us, it's not because it fancies giving us free data. It, of course, has commercial reasons. It wants us to use Google AdWords, the paid advertising, which we're going to get onto shortly. So when you use the keyword tool, you see numbers here which says suggested bid. This is how much it costs per click to have a Google ad up there. And this is done by the market. This is what your competitors are willing to bid. Google doesn't decide, you know what, coach hire, I think that's worth £2.39. It doesn't work like that. The bidding starts at 6p and the companies keep bidding. The most expensive keyword I've found is no win, no fee. Any guesses how much that goes for per click? Any guesses? £189 when I last looked per click. And when I teach courses on this, actually people got their laptops up and people start going on and typing in no win, no fee and clicking on the ads to cost the solicitors money. Now, I wouldn't advocate that, but if you've got a gripe with injury lawyers, then you want to cost them a lot of money. That's one way of doing it. But why is it so expensive? Why are they bidding that much? Well, the thing is they're probably getting a return on investment. If 1 in 10 people who click on that become a high-paying client, then they've worked out that £189 to be at that top spot is getting them a return on investment. So this market data is quite useful. If you're based in Birmingham, for Coach Hire Birmingham, your competitors are paying £2.39 a click. That's sort of the value of that word. That's quite interesting from my perspective. A quick question, let's see what you guys think about this. So we've got, let's go back, it's been cut off here. We've got a keyword coach hire leads and luxury coach hire. Now luxury coach hire is £3.32, yet it has less people a month searching for it than coach hire leads. So why are people paying more when there's less people searching for it? Well, the reason being is because that word's worth more, because it's luxury. They're going to be paying more, probably, than just your standard person looking for coach hiring leads. So it's not necessarily about quantity, it's about quality as well. But the thing I want to get over to you is all this data's out there, that we can use data to have evidence-driven marketing. We can set up a campaign that will work within your budgets to get leads. And that's the question I like to ask people is, what's your cost per acquisition? How much do you want to pay for a lead? If you're paying a broker X amount for a lead, could you run your own Google AdWords campaign and pay a bit less? And we can work all that out. What I really like to do is model what works. And I say this quite a lot, there's no secrets on the internet. James talking about doing it right or doing it wrong. Well, the way I've learned is I've looked at the people who are doing it right and found out what they were doing and then modelled that for my clients. And I'm going to show you some brilliant bits of software that help you find out this. But if you take, for example, economy coach hire, as some people who filled out the survey said these are someone they buy leads from, I'll just show you very quickly how you can tell the sort of keywords they're going for. You can see this if you look at the very top of the browser. Cheap coach hire, economy coach hire, coach hire. So you just get a snapshot. So if you were to look at one of your competitors' websites, you can actually see by just looking at the top where they want to appear on Google. The same with coach hire comparison. If we look at the very top, coach hire, cheap coach hire companies, minibus hire prices. Interesting, isn't it? Minibus hire prices, they've gone for that. That's obviously worked for them. But that's obviously quite laborious looking at websites. Can't we just get a bit more data from using some software? Well, yes, we can. So I'd like you all to think of a competitor now, someone that you're up against in your local area, and someone you'd like to know, well, are they running, if they're running Google AdWords, what are they doing? How much are they spending? What words are they running on? What do their ads look like? There's a brilliant bit of software called SpyFu. It's free to use initially. It'll give you some initial data and you pay a subscription of, I think, £30 a month to actually get the full version. But from a free version, you can get quite a nice bit of information. So what I've done here is I've put in economycoachhire.com, and it's on me some interesting stats about this broker. For example, their daily AdWords budget, pay-per-click budget, is between £75 and £348 a day. So if you were to put one of your competitors in there, you can see the range of what they're spending on Google AdWords, which will help you when you're thinking, well, how much should I spend on AdWords? How much should I invest? So we can see your competitors' internet marketing strategies. We can see the strategies of brokers like Economy Coach Hire by just starting to use some of this software. It also tells you when they've spent the most. So it shows you a date range. Example being that they spent a lot around the summer in 2012. You can see how much they're spending, when they're spending. I don't know if you find that useful as you plot your marketing strategies, but a lot of our clients do. But it goes even further. You can actually get reports of all the ads they've run. So you can get all the words they've been going for, the actual copy they've used. It can all be downloaded in a report. Now, you can do this yourself, or you can get an agency locally, or someone such as myself, to actually make a similar campaign for you. Because if they're doing really well, if you know that they've grown a lot, and you think, well, why can't I grow like that? Well, let's just copy their strategy. It's downloadable from this software.
What's the name of the software again?
SpyFu.
Spy?
Let me go back to this, you can see it. Just Google SPYFU. You'll find a lot of software on the internet has stupid names, and that's just the industry, unfortunately. People who write this sort of software tend to see themselves as creative, but yes, SpyFu. Quick tip, just make sure when you're tracking, put the UK in there. But you could go on there now and just put in one of your competitors or a broker or someone you're using who's selling you leads. You think, well, what are you doing to get those leads? Chances are they're probably running Google ads because it's the fastest and most effective way to get leads. And you can just see what they're up to. So let me just jump forward. And this thing I'm talking about initially is Google AdWords.
You know
Oh, sorry.
The tracking?
Yes.
Is that where people are searching from? So if you were trying to get international business, you'd change that to the country?
Yeah. If you wanted to get international business, then you can run Google ads for whichever country. So I mean,
just change the tracking to say US or something like
yeah. I mean, of course. Yeah. I mean, I think for the tracking bit, I think it only does US and UK because that's where the software is based. But I don't know. I haven't actually tried it for an international, so we'd have to see. But yeah, I think it should be possible. So the thing I want to talk about initially is pay-per-click advertising. Show of hands, who actually clicks on the Google ads? That's interesting. So you're looking at about probably half the room. Now this isn't a fair sample. Studies have shown that actually around 30% of people click on the ads. But that's interesting because some people were skeptical and think, well, I don't click on the ads. If you're one of those people that don't click on the ads, you think no one else does. Well, actually, a lot do. And Google's turnover last year was $40 billion. Most of that comes from this sort of revenue. So for those of you who are quite green and to SEO and pay-per-click advertising, just so you know that what we're talking about here are the ads at the top and down the side. I'm sort of trying to cover all bases in case anyone's confused. 70% of people click on the organic and 30% here. And what I aspire for my clients to have is what I call total domination. Now, Anthony likes this phrase. And let me give you an example. So we're based in Norfolk. We have clients all over the UK, but we're based in Norfolk, and there's a company called R.A. Brown, and they supply and install heat pumps in Norfolk. So their main keyword are heat pumps Norfolk. And when we first started working with them, they were nowhere to be found on Google. They were paying about £8 grand a year to Yellow Pages, not really seeing much return. So the first thing we did was start running the ads up here. That cost about £2 a click. But the average heat pump installation goes from anything from 5 grand up to 30 grand. If you're looking at a ground source heat pump, that's where they bore into the ground and get geothermal energy. So it's very, very profitable. That got them a good return on investment, and it allowed us also to work on the SEO. Because some people say, well, should I do AdWords, should I do SEO? I say do both. Simply because by being at the top here, RA Brown are getting the 30%, but by being here, they're also getting the other 70%. RA Brown are quite greedy. When we got them here and here, they said they weren't happy. They said, can we get any other placements? i.e., can we get second? So I said, yes, let's do that. So now we've got them here and here. And I think if you Google it now, we've got them first, second, and third. And that's what we call total domination, that if someone's putting in coach hire, wherever your region is, so for Anthony, if you're putting in coach hire Norwich, Anthony wants to have Marriott Chariots here, 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 and here. Because no one's going to ignore you then. You know, for the 1,000 people a month that search for coach hire Norwich, vast majority of them are coming to your website, and it's just maximising those online inquiries. The interesting thing about AdWords is actually you don't necessarily always have to be at the top. One of our clients here, Abel's Moving Services, we run an ad here down the side because it's cheaper. You know, I talked about it being about bidding. It's cheaper to run your ads down the side than it is at the top because you get less clicks. However, if you've got a keyword like moving companies, that could cost about £10 a click. Whereas Abel's, you know, they're getting lots of leads through being here naturally. So actually being there, they can pay about £5 a click. So they can get half price visitors, less of them of course, but by being down the side. So that's something for you guys to look at, and how a lot of people use AdWords is like a tap, that when they're really busy, they just turn AdWords off. They go, you know, I've got too much work on at the minute, pause AdWords. Actually, you know what it is, we're going into a quiet period, let's crank it up and get ourselves at the top. Or actually, you know, we can do a few more inquiries, not that many. Fine, let's go here. AdWords is a really good way of just getting a proof of concept as to what keywords are right for you. Because you might think that Coach Hire Norwich is the best for you, Anthony, but actually it might really be Coach Hire Norfolk. But by running ads on both, we can track which one is the best and which gets you the most inquiries. It might just be running on both because you want to grow aggressively. It might be that you're really busy and Coach Hire Norwich is better than Norfolk because Norfolk's more popular. But it just allows us just to play around with it and just focus on generating leads through our website. As I mentioned, it's defined through bidding. You can lower your bids. You'll see on the keyword planner that actually £3 a click, I don't want to pay that. Cool, we'll bid £1.50 and be a bit lower. Play around with it. The nice thing about all of this is it allows you just to dip your toe in the water. You can just test different things online. You don't have to have a massive budget. You could spend a couple £100 a month and just see what sort of leads you get. And if you get a return on investment from that, then expand it. And that's what we like to do. We like to get a strategy in place and then work on what we call a proof of concept. So dip your toe in the water, get a proof of concept, and if you're getting return on investment from that, then we grow it. If you don't, then we tweak it and try something else until we find out what works. Because the fact that there are brokers out there means that internet marketing clearly does work. And as we recommend using both, but starting off with PPC. I'm going to break for a quick Q&A simply because I think if I talk too much, you know, people start, you know, it's a lot to take in. Also, people may have questions. One more thing I'm going to tell you guys about in terms of market research that you may or may not find interesting, I find it fascinating, is Google Trends. Has anyone here heard of Google Trends at all? Okay. It's not too dissimilar from the Google Keyword Planner. And an example of how it's used or how it was used is quite fascinating. So in 2009, Google alerted the World Health Organization to the fact there's going to be pandemic flu breaking out in Mexico any time now. Well, how on earth did Google know there's pandemic flu? It's because Google's monitoring what everyone's typing into Google, and they saw a spike in people in Mexico typing in flu-like symptoms. And it's actually quite interesting. This is a slight tangent, but we'll bring it back round. It's actually Google, all this data that Google has, it shares with us. It's free online. You go onto Google Trends and click on Google Flu Trends. If you were flying out to the United States next week and you're going to New York, you can see actually the flu activity is quite high in New York at the minute. So just make sure you watch yourself. It's fascinating, but you can type in words that are relevant to you. So coach hire, for example, you can see the trends of people typing in coach hire. And the trend's gone down. Doesn't necessarily mean there's less people searching for coach hire, what it tells me is that actually more people are searching for coach hire Norwich, coach hire York, coach hire Birmingham, so that the keywords are getting longer. So as you're thinking about the best words to run on, maybe coach hire is not the best one for you. And it's just thinking about that, and this software allows you to do it. If you type in any type of word, it will also tell you a forecast. So it looks at the trends and it tells you what it thinks the spikes are going to be based on previous data. And it's just a very useful tool as you're planning any business venture or you're investing in whatever it might be, gold, property, whatever. You can see in real time what people are typing into Google. If you go on the homepage of Google Trends, it says what's trending right now, what are people typing in? It just allows you to get a bit more information, a bit more market research as you plan your marketing strategies, as you look to grow your businesses. So I'm going to talk to you about search engine optimization now. That was something that a lot of people said they wanted to know a bit more about when they conducted the Don't Travel Empty survey that was sent round. So I'd like you all to think of a keyword. So think about a keyword that's good for your business. It could be coach hire Norwich, coach hire York, whatever it might be, coach hire Birmingham. Think about that. And what we're going to do is talk about what you need to have on your website to get high in the search engines for that specific word. So you've all chosen your keyword. What we need to do is start thinking about how Google ranks websites. And to do that, you need to know what motivates Google and start thinking a bit like Google. I'm going to share with you a couple of principles today. And if you get these two principles, you'll understand how Google works and why Google sorts websites the way it does. And the first principle is relevancy. What do I mean by relevancy? Well, SEO in its most crudest form is just word matching. And we all kind of intuitively know this. We all use search engines, I'm assuming, because if you type in a keyword like internet marketing Norwich, the search results that match those words, internet marketing Norwich, are bolded. So Google's just matching it up. So the golden rule is, and it might sound a bit patronising, but if you want to rank for a keyword, it's got to be on your website. But be amazed how many people don't get that. There's a hairdresser in Norwich, it's the biggest salon in Norwich, and he was nowhere to be found for the keyword hairdressers Norwich. He got really angry and said, why are Google doing this to me? I said, well, let's have a look at your website. We looked at his website and he mentioned hairdressing and hairstylists all over the website. Hadn't put the word Norwich in there once. And the website was actually hosted in California. So how's Google supposed to know? Yes, he might be the biggest and best hair salon in Norwich, great. But unless you put it on your website in the right place, Google's never going to know. And I see, actually, having been involved with Don't Travel Empty for a while now, a lot of coach companies that don't mention coach hire plus the location. They just say, you know, we're Marriott's Chariots or we're whoever. And that's fine. So you'll appear in Google for your name, but you haven't put coach hire plus the location you're in. So that's called on-page SEO. That's if you put the keyword, the search term, in the right places on your website, that's the first part of SEO. The second principle is authority, because there might be 15 websites or 10 websites that have coach hire Norwich in all the right places. So how does Google decide to put Marriott's Chariots at the top or the bottom? How does it decide what to do? It's all about the authority of that website, and the authority is given by other websites. It's almost like voting. And this is called link building. You may have heard people talk about getting links to your website. Links are the currency of the internet. If lots of people are linking to you, you've probably got a good business. And that's the way Google looks at it. It's like a popularity vote, if you like. The only thing I would say is it's quality, not quantity of links. And if we have an example going back to our lovely hairdresser, so we've got two websites here. Website A and website B. Now, both of them have great on-page SEO for the keyword hairdressers in Norwich. So 100%, they're fine. And this one has more links to it from other websites. So you'd think, well, that should go above website B. But actually the links are just his mates. He's got his mate Dave from up the pub, his plumber, his next door neighbour's blog, you know, the poodle parlour, wherever. Well, they're all links from websites, but they're not relevant websites. Whereas website B, it's a hairdresser, has links from Vidal Sassoon, you know, GHD, L'Oreal, all these blogs where he's creating content and writing about his services, the fact he's a top hair salon and stylist in Norwich. So actually, less is more, and it's about getting links. If you had links from Don't Travel Empty, if you had links from Relevant, what was it, Route 1 is the publication? Yeah, if you have links from them that talk about you being a coach hire company in Birmingham, say, that's much better than getting, you know, one of your suppliers, your local printer or whatever, to link to you. I use this as an example just to sum up SEO. So there's two halves to SEO. On-page SEO, which is what we can see. You can log onto a website and see, yes, they've mentioned Coach Hire Norwich in all the right places. Off-page is the links. You can't directly see who's linking to your website. There's software that will show you, but you can't directly see. And off-page SEO is where most of the work happens. That's why if you were to use an SEO agency, they'll say we charge you £500 a month for 12 months. What are you doing for that? Well, what they're doing is basically online PR. They're getting other people to link to you. And the way that a good SEO agency would work that out is if you're paying us £500 a month, we want to be getting you back £5,000 in business each month. And you can work that out by saying, well, if I'm at the top of Google for Coach Hire Norwich, this is how much I should be getting based on the data of running a Google ad for Coach Hire Norwich. You see what I mean? You run the Google ad, you see how many leads you get, and you think, well, that's great, but I know that there's 1,000 people a month searching for Coach Hire Norwich, and if I'm number one and 70% of people are clicking on the number one spot, then I can get 700 people to my website. Do you see what I mean? So it goes back to the data again, and it's all there. It's just piecing it together. So let me just start with on-page SEO to just explain to you guys very quickly. You're thinking about your website now. You're thinking about the keyword you want to rank for. Where do you put it on the website? The other thing to bear in mind actually is that sometimes it's all you need. And here's an example actually. This was a few years ago. We were working with a client who wanted to rank well for solar panels in Norwich. He was a solar panel installer. And by just creating a page called Solar Panels Norwich, we got him to the bottom of page 1. And that's because the competition wasn't that fierce. There wasn't that many websites wanting to rank for solar panels in Norwich. So by just doing a bit of on-page SEO, you can jump really high. And I think, Anthony, wasn't there a gentleman, was it at the Hertfordshire, who made a couple of on-page SEO changes?
The little bus company.
Yeah. So he made a couple of on-page SEO changes based on this session here. I got a lovely testimonial from him saying, my inquiries, I've jumped up in the rankings, my inquiries have increased by, how much was it? Was it threefold, fourfold? Yeah, so he was really happy. So just by making a couple of tweaks to your website, I'm about to show you now, you could jump up in the rankings if you don't have your keywords in the right place, because it's actually probably not that competitive, some of the words you're going for. If you want to rank number 1 for Coach Hire, that's competitive, right? There's lots of people wanting to go for that. If you want to rank number 1 for Coach Hire York, not as competitive. So, where to put the keywords on your website? I'm all about modelling success, and Coach Hire Comparison dominate for the keyword Coach Hire. So I'm going to show you where they've got their keywords as a good example. So if you type in Coach Hire into Google, you've got Coach Hire Comparison here, because these 3 are ads. And straight away you can see Google's bolded Coach Hire. It's also got Coach Hire here and Coach Hire here. But where does that translate onto the website? Well, let me show you. If you look up here, do you remember I showed you this before? The page title. That's at the very top of your browser. So if you go onto your website and you see the word home up here, or your company's name, you're missing a trick. Because by having your keyword in there, this is the most important place to put it, because you're telling Google this is what's known as the page title. So it's the title of the whole page. If the title of the whole page is Coach Hire York, Coach Hire Birmingham, then it's going to appear for Coach Hire York or Birmingham somewhere in Google search index, rather than if you just had the word home in there or your company's name. Now you can still keep your company's name, but just have the word Coach Hire. So you see, Coach Hire Comparison have got the word Coach Hire here. They've also got it in their name, Coach Hire Comparison. If we go back to this bit here, the bit in black, this is known as the meta description. It's what the gentleman mentioned earlier on, meta description. You can't actually see a meta description on the website if you just looked at it like this. You'd have to right-click and look at the code. But any good content management system or any good web developer will ask you to supply metadata, which is basically 2 sentences that goes here in the black. And by putting your keyword in there as well, you're ticking those boxes. So what I've got for us, just to make it very clear, because I don't like just waffling, giving you odd bits of information, is my on-page SEO checklist. Now, because this is being recorded, we'll send you a link to this presentation, so don't worry about having to write it all down. But here are the 6 places that if you get your keyword in here, you can jump up in the rankings, just like one of the guys from Hertfordshire did. So, number 1 is the page title, and this is in order of importance as well. So at the very top of your browser, page title, just see what's there on your website. See what your web developer's put in there. Very often he puts the word home, because it's home page. But like I said, he's missing a big trick. Put your keyword in there first, then your name second. And keep it within 70 characters within spaces. You should be able to make these changes for a content management system. If you don't have a content management system like WordPress or whatever, just speak to your web developer. Say, look, I heard a talk, I want to make a couple of changes to the website, can you do this? If he says it's any more than 20 minutes work, he's lying, so make sure he only charges for half an hour. Yeah, I've seen web developers say, oh, it's half a day's work, and that's not the case, but I'm sure you've all got very reasonable web developers who wouldn't do that. The second one is the meta description, second most important place. Once again, ask your web developer or go into your content management system. It should be really clear. It's under what's known as metadata. Try and keep it within 150 characters and include the keyword in there. Also write for humans as well as Google, because people will scan it. It's almost those 2 black lines. It's a little bit of sales copy just to entice people into your website. Your domain. Now obviously if you've got a name like Marriott's Chariots, unfortunately you don't have the word Coach Hire Norwich in there. But that's okay for Anthony, because we can either just optimise the home page and not include the domain, or what we might do is create a Coach Hire Norwich page. So it would be marriotschariots.co.uk/Coach Hire Norwich. And that allows us to tick that box that it's in the URL. Headers. So the main header should have your keyword in it. In the coding, you can have a header tag, which would be H1 to H6, 1 being the most important, 6 being the least. And the different tags tend to be different size fonts. But once again, speak to your developer, try and get it in a H1 somewhere. But equally, once again, think about humans as well. Don't just put Coach Hire Norwich, you can put Coach Hire Company in Norwich, something that's a bit more grammatically correct. Body text, this is what everyone thinks about when they think of on-page SEO. They think, right, yes, I need to put the keywords in my copy, in my text. So they write like it's a shopping list. My Coach Hire Company in Norwich is the best Norwich-based coach hire company in the world. It's dreadful to read. This is the 5th most important thing. Google have given it less weight because it's what most users, most business owners know how to change. So they will keyword stuff it in. So once again, write for humans as well as Google. So get that balance right. I tend to say try and include it 3 times. Middle, beginning, end. And bold it if possible. If you bold the keywords, it's telling Google this word's slightly more important. And finally, alt tags. Does anyone know what alt tag is? Martin?
Description of it.
Yeah, okay, exactly. Google can't see images like we can. They can't look at a picture of me and say, that's Marcus. So we have to tell them what the picture is. And if you've got pictures on your website, you may want to say that it's a picture of a coach hire company in Norwich, say, or a coach hire company in Birmingham. The most important thing with on-page SEO is consistency. Don't just go, right, I'm going to put it in the page title and the header, but ignore the rest of it. Try and tick all those boxes. And the interesting thing that a lot of people don't get is that you can have 1 keyword per page, because Google ranks web pages, not websites, right? So every web page you create, so you can create a web page called Coach Hire Norwich, Coach Hire Norfolk, Coach Hire Suffolk, Coach Hire Cambridge, Coach Hire Ipswich. And they will rank for different pages. It's not just your homepage that appears in Google. Every web page in your website appears on Google for different words. And you can have as many pages as you want, so you can actually widen the net. So to see if you've got this point, I've got a little quiz, little question. So which website do you think gets the most traffic? Is it website A that's got a homepage that's got a couple of keywords on it, an About Us page, a product or service page that has a third keyword, and a Contact Us page? Or is it website B that looks a little bit similar but has a few more pages? Homepage has got a couple of keywords on it, but what they've done is they've actually broken up their product or service into different pages for a third, fourth, fifth and sixth keyword. So it would be like Coach Hire Ipswich, Coach Hire Cambridge, Coach Hire York, Coach Hire Lincolnshire. Which one do you think would get the most traffic if it's got more pages that are optimised in Google?
B.
Thank you. Well done. Let me actually give you a live example rather than a strange and patronising question. Who's seen the film The Field of Dreams? Anyone seen the film? One person, great. It's not actually that good film, but it's got a motto in it or a saying, which is build it and they will come. And that's what lots of people think about websites. Build the website and my customers will come. But it's not actually what happens. So about 4 years ago, 2010, when the solar industry was booming in the UK because of the feed-in tariffs, there was a chap called Ben. He's based in Ipswich, and he got qualified to install solar panels, and he set up his solar panel installation company called Solar East Anglia. And he thought the same thing, build it and they will come. He spent £2,000 on not a particularly nice looking website, and he waited for the phone to ring. And 3 months went by, no phone calls. 6 months went by, still no phone calls, he's struggling, and someone puts him in touch with us. Now, this is what the website looked like. Just ignore that bit of the page title. It just said Solar East Anglia. And here are the pages. It had its home page that just said Solar East Anglia. Had a page called How It Works, which if you looked at the page title and the URL, it said How It Works. Great. Price Guide, page called Price Guide, optimised for the word Price Guide. Great. He wasn't really getting much traffic. So we came along and we built him some new pages. And we stuck the links to them down here. A page called Solar Panels Cambridge, Solar Panels Newmarket, Solar Panels Suffolk, Solar Panels Ipswich, Solar Panels Diss, Bury St Edmunds, Norwich, Thetford. All these different pages. And this is what they look like. This is our Solar Panels Suffolk page. As you can see at the top, it says Solar Panels Suffolk. The URL is / Solar Panels Suffolk. The meta description says Solar Panels Suffolk in it. This is a heading called Solar Panels Suffolk. Are you looking to install solar panels into your Suffolk home? Now, do you remember what I said about bolding in the copy? Well, I bolded the word solar panels in Suffolk, but it looked a bit spammy. I didn't like the look of it. So I also bolded other features and benefits, such as he's MSC accredited, he's part of the Real Assurance Scheme. So at first glance, it doesn't look like I've really done much SEO to this page. This is the page that Google ranks for Solar Panels Suffolk. This is the page that's up there. The image, of course, is called Solar Panels Suffolk. This is the Norwich page. This is where people come in, and once again, you can see Solar Panels Norwich up here, Solar Panels Norwich up here. You see the repetition, and here are the results. This was a long time ago. Solar Panels Suffolk, #1, but not his home page, his Solar Panels Suffolk page. We've got him #2 for Solar Panels Norwich. Does everyone get that? Each individual page can go for a different keyword. So if you cover a geographical area, don't just go for one. Obviously put the most prominent one on your home page, but go for multiples. Now some people have said, well, hold on, Marcus, it looks pretty tacky putting those links down there. But for the 1 in 100 people that see it and get somewhat confused, it doesn't matter because he's getting all this extra traffic. And if people land on this page, or land on this page, they read it, they like the content, they then click on Price Guide, Testimonials, Contact Us. They think this is the home page, they don't know any different. The nice thing about what happened to Ben is he made so much money, he was quite a young guy, that when they cut the feed-in tariffs, he took all his money and went travelling, and I think he's still doing that. Not great for me because I lost my fees, but there you go. So following the fort exercise that we did before, you chose your keywords, you've put that keyword onto your website, so it could be Coach Hire York, and you've checked the bits where it's not in there, you've put it in there, that's great. And so you're in a position that Anthony is with Marriage Chariots at the minute. So he's got his on-page SEO spot on, but he's still third in the organic listings for Coach Hire Norwich. How does he get first? This goes back to the second part of SEO I was talking about, which is off-page SEO. It's getting that authority. Anthony's website, Marriage Chariots, in Google's eyes is very relevant for Coach Hire Norwich because he's put it in the right places. But there's two people above him who are also relevant but have more authority. And the authority comes from other people linking to him. So for Anthony to get first, he needs to build a couple of extra links. So what sort of links does he have to build? How does he get them? And what does he have to do? Let's explore that. So when I talk about a link, I'm going to define a link. A link is a selectable connection between one web page and another. The reason I say that is it could be an image. You probably clicked on an image before and gone to another web page. If there's one thing to take away from link building, it's this idea which is known as anchor text. Now, anchor text is an SEO term. What it means is a hyperlink. So if you wanted to link to Marriage Chariots from your website, you could put in www.marriagechariots.co.uk. Fine. But you can also put a hyperlink. So you can put in Coach Hire Norwich as a hyperlink in some text and then link through to Anthony's homepage. And when Google reads that hyperlink, it's saying, oh, here's a website that's saying that Marriage Chariots is synonymous with the words Coach Hire Norwich. Did you get that? So it's not that you just want a link, which is your web address. You want a link which has the keywords in it that goes to the page that you're looking to optimize in Google. So a lot of people start scratching their heads going, right, okay, so link building, I need to get links from other people, other websites. Well, I don't really want to ask other people to link to me, and how do I do that? Then people tend to think, well, hold on a sec, and Anthony might think, well, I've got a friend I can ask. I'll ask Marcus. Marcus will link to me. And Anthony rings me up and says, Marcus, can you link to me, please? And I say, okay, but only if you link back. All right, cool. I don't know how many of you did algebra at school, but it cancels each other out. So when you've got one-way links versus reciprocal, so reciprocal is I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. For example, here, that's a no-go, because that's the first thing everyone did. They thought, right, so I need to get more authority from other people saying that I'm about Coach Hire Norwich. I'm just going to ask all my mates to link to me. Well, that's fine if they link to you one way, but they probably want you to do something in return. They want you to link back. So in an ideal world, sorry, going back, in an ideal world, you want one-way links. You want people saying, Marriage Chariots are all about Coach Hire in Norwich. That's exactly what they're about. If you want to look for the best coach hire company in Norwich, go to Marriage Chariots. And you want people to give you that as a one-way vote, a one-way link. So what off-page SEO is, it's cultivating links. It's essentially good online PR. If the Norwich Evening News, which is the website, which is the news company in Norwich, if they're linking to Anthony, they are a relevant news company, Norwich Evening News, talking about Coach Hire in Norwich. So when you think about what makes a good link, the first thing you want, and it goes back to our two principles here, there's only two principles, is you want a relevant link. You want a link from a website that's either in your industry or that's local to your geographical area, like the Norwich Evening News, for example. You want it from a relevant link. If it's a link from my company, I can link to all you guys, but I'm relevant for SEO and pay-per-click and internet marketing. So Google will look at my link and say, well, that's great, you know, Marcus is linking to them, but what does he know about Coach Hire in York? What does he know about York? His website doesn't mention York. So really what you want to do, and it actually makes it a bit easier, is you want good online PR. You want people linking to you who mention your keywords on their website. You also want websites of authority. You want websites in an ideal world that would be as prestigious as, say, the BBC. or the Telegraph or the Times, but we can't always get those. So how do we determine the authority of the local Norwich Evening News? How do we determine the authority of someone who's a supplier who's based in Norwich and can put a link to me that says Coach Hire Norwich? How do we determine that? Well, Google gives us a way of scoring authority. It's called the Google PageRank. Has anyone heard of Google PageRank? No one? That's fine. It's an industry term. Google scores from each web page in its index. So Google's got about 80 billion web pages in its index, and it scores them from 0 to 10 in terms of authority. But it's not a sliding scale in terms of it's all equal. It's exponential in its difficulty to get higher up the scale. And let me show you a graphic that explains that better. Google PageRank explained. To get from 0 to 5, so a PageRank 0 to a PageRank 5, is easier than it takes to get from a PageRank 5 to a PageRank 6. Can you kind of see that it doubles? And if you look at this sort of mountain here, it says level of effort, that actually it doubles in difficulty, that you've got eBay as a PageRank 9 and Google as a PageRank 10, and you look at the difference in size and how much effort it takes to get there, it's quite difficult. Most of you will have a PageRank 1 or 2. You think, well, where do I get PageRank from? That's from the links. So, for example, if eBay, not that they probably would, but if eBay were to link to Marriott Chariots on their homepage, PageRank 9, part of that authority will go to Marriott Chariots. Now, how is this relevant to you? Basically, if you just Google PageRank Checker, if you're getting a link from someone and they say, oh, I'll link to you, Google PageRank Checker, put in their website, and you'll see whether they've got a high page rank or not. Because people say, oh, I'll link to you, and they don't really bother doing it a lot of the time, so you have to chase them. And in terms of your time or someone's time, in terms of prioritising it, you want to prioritise someone who's got a page rank 4 or page rank 5 over someone who's just got a page rank 1. And it's also interesting to see what your page rank is and what your competitors' page rank are as well. It helps you understand how Google is looking at your website. So what's the perfect link? If you say, right, Marcus, okay, I get this, you know, I'm like Anthony, I'm third for Coach Hire, wherever, I want to be first. Where do I get links from, and what's the best link I can get? Well, let me give you an example of the perfect link to get. The keyword is in the anchor text, so it's got a hyperlink that has the keyword in it. It's on a relevant web page. It's on a web page that's already talking about your keyword, and it's on a website that has authority. So let me give you an example of one we got for one of our clients. We have a client that specialises in ISO certification, and one of the keywords they want to rank for is ISO 9001. So one of my team on the SEO desk, they look for places where they can get links from. So they approach people cold. They all have backgrounds in PR and journalism, and they approach people cold to try and get links. And they type in ISO 9001 information. And what do they see? Well, they see a number of competitors. That's not particularly useful. Wikipedia. Oh, hold on. Who's this? ISO 9001 info. An ISO 9001 information blog. Someone's got a lot of spare time on their hands, but that's fine. So we approach the blog. We check its page rank. It's a page rank 3. Brilliant. And look how relevant it is for ISO 9001. It's got it up here. It's got it up here. It's got it here. So we approach them and say, look, we've got some really interesting content that you might want to put on your blog. We have one of the biggest ISO providers in the country. We've interviewed a few of their specialists. Would you like this? Your readers might find it very interesting because it needs to be a value to them. They're not going to link to me because I asked them. I need to give them something of value. So what I give them is some content. And straight away, in the top of the content, if you are considering acquiring the ISO 9001 standard, which is the keyword we're going for, there's a hyperlink that says ISO 9001. And that links to their ISO 9001 page. Not their home page, but the page we want to rank for ISO 9001. Which obviously has got very good on-page SEO, because you can see ISO 9001 here, 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 etc. So that makes sense. You kind of get that. In an ideal world, you'd want to link, if you wanted to rank #1 for Coach Hire Leeds, you'd want to get on a page that talks about Coach Hire in Leeds and has a link in the content saying Coach Hire Leeds to the page that you want to optimise for coach hire leads. Could be the home page. It might not be. It could be a / coach hire leads page because you also had a coach hire Yorkshire page or whatever. But that's what you want to strive for. You might be thinking, well, Marcus, I can't get that. No, but if you can get closer to it, if you can get closer to the ideal, your link will be better than if you just ask your mate, actually, do you mind just linking to me and putting www.mycompaniesname.co.uk? You see what I mean? So how many links do you need? You think, right, Marcus, so I need to go out and get links now. Well, how many do I need? It depends on how many your competitors have. I call this benchmarking, right? So if the company that's number one for coach hire Norwich has got 5 more decent links than Anthony, then I want to get 6 links for Anthony to get him above. Do you kind of see that? So you think, well, how do I see how many links people have? Well, once again, there's some software that tells us this. Majestic SEO. This one's free to use as well to an extent, and then to use the more premium service they charge £30 a month. It's a good business model in fairness. What I've done here to give an example, going back to coach hire comparison, I have to tell you a funny side story actually. Coach hire comparison, when I first did this in the NEC in Birmingham, was sitting right at the front, and I dissected his whole internet marketing strategy, and whether he was happy about that or not, I don't know, but it was amusing to say the least. So let's go to coach hire comparison. Here we go. Coach hire comparison. We can see the number of websites that he has. These are called referring domains, the number of websites that are linking to him, and the number of links from those websites, because a website can link more than once. But what does this mean? I want to help you out with this, because you think, okay, that's a lot of links. Let's drill down to the keyword we want to go for. Say Anthony wants to be number one for coach hire, just nationally. What we can do in Majestic SEO is we can look, and there are 76 referring websites with the keyword coach hire as a hyperlink in the anchor text. And we can see who all the links are. And now we can see, by looking at this, what coach hire comparison strategy is for getting number one. You see, remember I said about relevant links that have authority? What's more relevant than a whole group of coach hire companies that mention coach hire in all different places? So what he's done, James at Coach Hire Comparison, is this is an example of one of his members. He's got, the page that's very relevant for coach hire and bus tours, is that he's managed to get a sneaky link that says coach hire to Coach Hire Comparison. And by getting 76 of those, he is number one for coach hire comparison. So it's quite ironic that the people that are buying leads off him, they're inadvertently putting him in the position to get the leads. Whereas actually, if they all stopped that, he would drop out of Google. And the likes of Marriott Chariots could be number one. But if we assume that none of them do take their leads down, and Anthony wants to be number one, we need to get 77 high-quality links. Right. Now, I don't know where I could find 77 coach hire companies that might have a web... Oh, no, but you see what I mean. So it can be done. And this is quite a nice example. Okay. So the truth about link building. So let's give you a few home truths. It's hard work. I have a team of people. I have 5 people on my SEO desk, and they are constantly phoning, emailing, speaking to real website owners, real industry websites, The Guardian, whoever, on behalf of our clients, trying to get links from those places. And it is hard work, Long gone are the days where you could just hire someone in India to build you a load of fake links from fake websites, and we've never got involved with that anyway because Google will always going to stamp down on it. So it is hard work. To get Anthony, if we're being serious, if Anthony wants to be number one for coach hire, we need to find him 77 websites, website owners who are really relevant for coach hire to link to him with that word in there. So we have to go out and speak to 77 different people and actually get a 100% success rate from those 77 people. It's hard work. But it shouldn't put you guys off, because actually the sort of keywords you may want to go for, localised ones, coach hire York, coach hire Leeds, coach hire Sheffield, whatever, that's actually much less competitive. And that is less work. But I don't want to be under the illusion that actually SEO can be done in a couple of weeks. It can't. Which is why I talk about using pay-per-click advertising, because every penny you're spending goes directly to someone coming to your website. Whereas if you spend SEO of SEO agency, you're paying for someone's time to try and get you a link, and it's harder to do. It's a team sport. Everyone should be on a lookout for getting links. So everyone who's a member of Marriott's Chariots, if they see an opportunity, if someone thanks them, if a customer says thank you really much or whatever, you know, I blog about coach journeys because that's what I do at the weekends. Oh, can I have a link from your blog? It's just being switched on to people who have websites who you're interacting with. And if your whole company knows actually, well, you know, there's someone you're speaking with, you've got a good relationship, you can get a link. It's just being switched on to that. It is a team sport. There are no shortcuts. So Google's changed a lot in the last 2 years. People used to cheat the algorithm, and basically by hiring companies in India to build lots of fake websites and link to you, because you think, well, I need links. I can't bother to speak to real people. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to pay someone in India to do that for me. Google had various updates to crack down on this. One was called Panda, one was called Penguin. Google likes giving things silly names, it appears. But the serious part of Penguin was that on the 22nd of May last year, about 1.3% of website owners in the UK woke up one morning and their websites had dropped entirely out of Google because they'd been hiring an SEO agency that had been conducting bad and poor practices. I thought I'd be quite a clever business owner, and I ran a Google ad saying, have you been hit by Penguin? If so, give us a call, we'll sort you out, which was great until I realised all the people that were calling up were absolutely livid at SEO agencies, and the last thing they wanted was another one selling them their services. But we actually put together a system and a package to remove links, and we've actually managed to save all the guys that went with us. So we managed to turn those websites around, bring them back up into Google, so now they are very loyal customers, but it was quite a stressful transitional period for them, and they weren't the best clients to have initially, so that wasn't particularly clever of me, really. You have to keep going. So say Anthony decides he's going to take on Coach Hire Comparison, and we get Anthony his 77 links. So we're all going to link to Anthony today with Coach Hire in there. Well done, Anthony, 77. James from Coach Hire Comparison has just signed up 4 new members, and now he has 80 links. Oh dear, Anthony. So it's an ongoing race, unfortunately. You can't just say, I've done a bit of SEO, I'm going to sit there forever. It will vary on keywords, right? So if you've got a keyword where very few people are building links, your competitors aren't really doing anything, then you'll probably stay up there just on the fact that no one's really doing anything. But the big ones, if you're gunning for Coach Hire, 8,100 searches a month, yeah, it's going to be competitive. People who know what they're doing are going to be pushing for it. And it becomes a race at that point. Who's got the better SEO agency? Who's got the better online PR? And the sad truth is that the bigger companies will eventually rise to the top because they can afford the best online PR and the best agencies. Something that James and I were talking about earlier on. So how to build links. I'm going to run through a checklist very quickly. This is being recorded, so don't worry about having to take notes at a rapid pace. Number 1, contacts, customers, suppliers. I said obviously don't get your mate up the pub, but if they do have a relevant website, if it's a localised keyword you're going for, Coach Hire York, and someone is, for example, a printer in York and their website mentions York, that's not necessarily a bad thing because it's still relevant for the word York. So contacts, customers, suppliers, writing a testimonial to a supplier is a great way to get a link. If I say to my printer, best printing services in Norwich, from Marcus, Fountain, partnership, SEO company in Norwich, an SEO company in Norwich is a link to my SEO Norwich page. Because I've written something nice, a testimonial for him, he's more likely to put it on my website. You guys get that. You just want to, it's sales at the end of the day. You want to incentivize people to link to you. So in that example, we use the perfect link. We put into Google ISO 9001 information. So you put in things like keyword plus news, keyword plus blog. So Coach Hire blog, or Coach Industry blog, or what's going on in York, or what's going on in Norwich. There's lots of actually, in terms of localised keywords, there's lots of stuff like Active Norfolk. There's lots of local websites and blogs that talk about activities, things to do, and you can write a blog post about actually if you're thinking about doing this or going away to here, you may want to look at various coaching services. There's always an angle. And that moves on into what we call guest blogging. This has become quite a big thing in the agency. If you own a blog, then you've got a problem. You've got to keep bloody updating it. And it's a hassle. But you've got this readership, and you're probably making money from having banner ads, right? So if you don't keep updating your blog, you'll lose readers, you'll lose income. So if you can approach a blog owner and say, actually, I've got a really interesting piece about where the coaching industry is going, or great places to go for staycations in the UK, whatever it might be, they're going to think, oh, hallelujah, that's some really nice content. I'll post it on my blog. And in return, I'll link back to your website with the hyperlink that you want. And that's generally what happens. You're helping out blog owners. They're happy to post to you, but you're getting that authority from that blog. And if you've written the post that's about best things to do when travelling around Yorkshire, you've mentioned Yorkshire in the post, you've got a relevant post, and you're getting a link from it. Online PR, once again, any offline PR you do, there'll probably be an online version of it. Right, so I don't know if Route 1's got its own online versions of its issues or whatever. It's got its own news piece.
I'm not sure how they work there because it's like a magazine, so it's on some kind of a...
Yeah.
And an actual web page of any live for a certain amount of time.
Cool. So that might not be the best example, but there will be various news outlets. Probably your local rags are the best ones for local keywords, like Norwich Evening News, etc. If you get any PR that you are doing, just try and think about, hold on a second, can we get a link here? I'm not asking you to do extra PR just for the links. It's just bringing that together, just tying up, okay, we've got a good bit of PR, got a splash in this rag, can we get a link from it on their online issue? And it's always worth just being aware of it. Competitor links. Think again about your lovely competitor who we've been thinking about throughout this talk. Stick their website into Majestic SEO. So just go to Majestic SEO, put it in there. Majestic will tell you everyone who's linking to your competitor. So you can see who they've got partnerships with. How come they got a splash in the local rag? How come Route 1 are linking to them? You can see, but what you can also see is, that'd be a great place for me to get a link. That'd be a good place, that'd be a good place. So in terms of benchmarking, catching up with them, you can get links from the same places. But it just allows you to understand what they're up to a bit more. Have your own blog or news page. So you can build internal links. If you're updating your blog once a month or your news piece, you can have one that talks about coach hire in Norwich and links back to your homepage. So you can have an internal link. It's not as strong as an external one, but it's still another page that's relevant for coach hire in Norwich, and it links back. And it's good to have new content on your website. Directories. This is becoming less relevant now, but if there are any directories, Don't Travel Empty might be a nice directory. If there's any directories for your industry, the Yahoo directory is quite good as well. There's one called Demoz, which is actually a human-edited directory, in as much as that humans will look at your website and decide whether you're good enough to get on it. So Google gives it some weight. To be honest, I think you guys should just focus if there's any industry ones. If there's any industry directories, that'd be great. If there's any local directories, that would be good as well if you're going for the localized keywords. There are various online communities, and I'll get onto social media shortly. So you can write articles for local communities that do talk about various issues. I don't think it's entirely relevant for you guys in this sector, but there are people that make a living by just writing for things like Squidoo or eZine or Hub Pages. There was a woman who made, I think, about 50 grand a year. She was the wife of a soldier, and she would write about what it's like being the wife of a soldier. You know, your soldier's off on tour in Afghanistan and how difficult it was. And lots of our wives would interact with her. So as a result, the posts she would write, people would click on adverts around them and she would get a percentage of that income. So I think for some industries it's good, for some individuals it's good, for you guys probably not as much, but you should be aware that there are online communities. I think for the coaching industry probably not as much, but something to be aware of at least. Online videos. If you have a promotional video or if you have any type of video that's on YouTube, use it to get a link back. You can actually call the video Coach Hire in York or Coach Hire in Norwich, and that's another part of Total Domination because the video itself will rank in Google listings. So it's not a bad idea. If you get a promotional video, just say about whatever your Coach Hire company's name is, Coach Hire Company in York, Coach Hire, and that's just another great way. And people actually are drawn more to the videos from Google search. Social media, I haven't mentioned it yet, and the reason is because I think the currency of the internet is still link building from external websites. You can have people that are number one that are doing zero social media, but Google does pay attention to it because Google wants to put the people at the top who are the most relevant and have the most authority and are just active online, and they see how, and the more active you are online, the more you're interacting with people, obviously the more things you're doing, the bigger company you are, etc. So what I say about social media is use it to engage with existing customers. I think a lot of time can be wasted in social media trying to get new customers. If you have a strategy that works and you've got someone who's really good at it, fine. But for most of you guys, if you do Twitter or have any interaction with people on Facebook, use it for your existing customer base. And if you want to learn a bit more about social media, there's a really good book that came out at the beginning of this year. It's called Jab, 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 Right Hook. It's a boxing analogy, and it says that actually a lot of people are doing social media wrong. They're trying to sell with social media, when really they should give, so give value, and then ask. And that's the currency of the internet. People are much more free. They like to give information first before you actually ask for someone's custom. What's really good about this book is it's full of case studies. So rather than someone just giving their philosophy on social media, it just has blow-by-blow accounts of here's what works, here's what hasn't worked, here's how much money this company made, here's how much money they lost, here's the strategy. Because I'm all about strategies. If you find a strategy that is successful, try and model it yourself in your own industry. Try it a little bit, and if it works, expand it. If it doesn't, try another one. It's all about evidence-based marketing. Get a proof of concept, expand it out. I'm wary of social media because I've seen so many companies waste time on it. Business owners should be doing other things rather than going, I've got to update my Twitter. If you feel like you have to update it, if you don't enjoy writing the post, probably other people aren't going to want to read it. Use it to engage your customer base. Use it to say something that's interesting and useful to people rather than what you feel like you have to say, that you have to do Twitter because everyone else is on it. Just like pay-per-click, there's an ongoing cost for SEO. I think that's the thing. People say, oh, this pay-per-click thing's great, but actually I want SEO because I want to be up there for free. But hopefully I've demonstrated today that there's still a cost. Even if you're not paying another agency, it's still your time to get the links. It's still focusing on what your competitors are doing. There's a lot of work to be done. So total domination is the way forward. You want a bit of both. But if you don't have the time for SEO, you think, I've had enough of this, do the on-page SEO as a one-off job and then just focus on AdWords, because that you can really dial up and down the leads as your business needs. One thing I'll talk about finally is conversion rate optimization, which sounds incredibly boring, doesn't it? But actually it's rather exciting. It's making the most out of the existing traffic that you have, right? So you already have maybe 1,000 people a month coming to your website. Because what I've talked about before is getting new people to the website, but you already have a lot of people. But I bet you not all of them, not 100% of them, are becoming customers. Well, that's annoying, isn't it? Why can't we get more people becoming customers who are already coming to your website? So conversion rate optimization is looking to increase the conversion rate. So if 1 in 100 people who come to your website becomes a paying customer, that's a 1% conversion rate. 1 in 50 come to your website, become a customer, that's a 2%. So by going from a 2% conversion rate to a 4%, you can double the number of customers, i.e. double the number of sales, without having to pay for AdWords or SEO or do social media. You're just using the people that are already there. You're getting the most from them. Here's a quick case study of one of the things we do, because we use a methodology that's used by some of the top conversion rate companies in the world. So we talked about pay-per-click. We talked about, what was it? No win, no fee being a very expensive keyword on pay-per-click. Life insurance is very expensive as well. Not as much, it's £25 a click. And we had a client called Life Quotes for You, and they only wanted to spend £100 per lead. So their cost per acquisition was £100. At £25 a click, that's only 4 clicks to get, and we needed to get 1 inquiry. So it had to be a 25% or above conversion rate. When they came to us, their website was converting at 13%. So we ran a load of software, we monitored what people were doing, we made a load of changes and got it up to 30%, so it stayed within their cost per acquisition. Because that's the thing, people say, oh, AdWords is too expensive. What they really mean is actually our websites don't convert as well as our competitors. Because our competitors are paying that much for a click and they're getting good return on investment. It just means your website's not functioning as well as it could do. So how do you improve your conversion rate? First thing is Google Analytics. Who has got Google Analytics? No one? You have Google Analytics, brilliant. You do as well. Cool, a couple of people do. It's free. it's worth getting your web developers to install it. And what it does, it just gives you the stats about your website, right? So it shows you that the average number of pages in a visit is 3.6. It tells you the average time on the site, how many visitors you've had. And it ties into what the gentleman was talking about earlier on about tracking conversions. If someone fills out the form, it will tell you that person typed in Coach Hire Yorkshire or Coach Hire York. So you know that's come from SEO. But what's really interesting is the software that's been coming out recently. There's one bit of software that we use called SessionCam. SessionCam's fascinating. What it does is it records people using your website, not them physically. It doesn't like hack into the webcam or anything absurd like that. It records their mouse movements, so you can be virtually looking over their shoulder. And it's used by a lot of the big boys at the minute. Aviva, a prime example. Aviva, because I'm based in Norwich, I know a lot of guys who are at Aviva, and some of the stuff they're doing is actually quite scary. They've got some very sophisticated websites, .NET CMSs, that are almost like artificial intelligence. So if you're on the Aviva website now and you're typing at a certain rate, it will make an assumption that the speed you type at, you're at a certain demographic. So if you're typing a bit slower, they might assume you're a bit older. So when you go to the next page, they'll make the font a bit bigger. So the website's constantly making assumption about you, where you're clicking, the speed of your mouse movement, and it's constantly just correcting itself to try and give you the best looking website to convert you into a paying customer. That's the way it's going. SessionCam was actually set up by 4 guys who are at Aviva who said, well, let's take some of these ideas and make them accessible to everyone. And what SessionCam does, it records people using your website, so it could be mobile. It also is useful if someone starts filling out an inquiry form. We've all done that. We filled out an inquiry form, got distracted, closed down the web page. Oh, what was that website I was on? I'll forget it. I'll go somewhere else. It can record. People start half filling it out. It can record it, and actually there's a plugin to it that we use where actually if someone puts their name and email address but then doesn't fill out the rest of the form, that will then be emailed to our salespeople who can then say, oh, hi, you're on the website earlier on, you didn't check out, you didn't inquire, is there anything we can talk to you about? Because we want to increase that conversion rate. Actually, a lot of e-commerce websites do that at the minute, a lot of shopping websites. If you log in, fill up your cart, most of them do this now, so leave it for about an hour and you'll get an email saying, oh, I saw you fill up your shopping basket, how about you get 10% off if you buy by the end of the day? My sister uses it all the time to get cheaper clothes. So it's quite nice, but that's the way the internet's going. It's more like artificial intelligence. If you're on a website, I want to increase it as close as I can get to 100% of people on that website. I want them buying and inquiring now, and we're going to use as much software as possible to get every last person to pick up the phone. SessionCam is really nice for you guys because it's free to use for the first 500 page views, so you can get a free sample of 500 views of your pages, so maybe about 300 visitors coming to your website, assuming sort of 1.8 pages per view. So you get about 300 people and watching them virtually, looking over their shoulder, seeing how they're interacting with your website. And if they don't like your website, if they're leaving it straight away, if they can't see where the inquiry form is, if they're struggling to find the telephone number, you've got a problem because you're going to be losing people. So it's really useful to tie that in with Google Analytics. It's free to do for the first 100 page views. It's definitely worth doing. Because if you've invested anywhere from £1,000 to up to 10 grand on your website, you want to see how people are interacting with it, right? I mean, of course you want to know, because you want to get the most out of it. And it also does heat mapping as well, so it shows where mouses have been, so you can just get a feel for it. But we take this data and we will then put together what we call a conversion rate audit, and we can say, right, okay, so 1 in 50 people who come onto your website inquire, that's 2%. If you make these changes, we estimate it will probably get to 4%. So we can double the number of inquiries without having to spend a single penny on AdWords, SEO, any of that. We'll just make the most of what you've already got. And that's why I quite like conversion rate optimization, because for the price of a one-off report, for just a little bit of our time, if you want to do it yourself, install the stuff, have a look, make some suggestions to your web developer. For a one-off cost, you can actually double your number of inquiries today without really doing a massive amount, which is good. One thing I'm going to mention is Google remarketing. I love this. It annoys some people, but has anyone ever had the experience where they've been on a website and they've gone onto a second or third website and the first one they've been on, banner ads from it have followed them around? Has anyone had that experience? Yeah. E-commerce websites, again, lead the way with internet marketing. They do it. My other half over Christmas got to Norwich, was looking at a very expensive pair of shoes, and they followed her around for the next month, reminding her she couldn't really afford them. But what's nice about Google remarketing is it's done through Google AdWords. And you, for the small amount of time it takes to set up a banner ad, anyone who comes onto your website will then be followed around the Google display network. So any website that gives part of their page, their website to Google. And it's big players that do it. The Telegraph do it, the Guardian. So people will be on Marriott's Chariots, and they'll think, oh yeah, no, I'll inquire later. And then every website they're going on the Telegraph, and they go onto the Guardian, and they go onto Gumtree. And they're like, hold on a second. And they keep seeing these banner ads following them around for Marriott's Chariots. They think, actually, yeah, I need to call Anthony. I need to sort that out. And the thing is, if your competitors are doing it and you're not, people will be reminded more of your competitors. Here's the best thing about it. It's pay-per-click. And who actually clicks on banner ads on a regular basis? No, me neither. Because we've been conditioned as humans not to click on banner ads. Do you remember sort of 10 years ago, and we thought, oh, what's this nice thing? Click on it, all these pop-ups came, and oh, bugger off. That's exactly what happens. So very few people actually click on the ad, which means it costs you nothing. So we say budget maybe £10, £20 a month for remarketing. If you're getting about 1,000 visitors a month, budget that, because a few people will click on it. What tends to happen is people will see Marriott's Chariots banner ads following them around and think, right, yeah, I need to get in touch with Anthony. Open up a new tab, go into Google search, type in Marriott's Chariots, and come back for free. So it's bringing people back to your website for absolutely nothing. No one here clicks on banner ads, I certainly don't. I ignore banner ads, unless I was on that website yesterday, because I think, oh yeah, I was there. It's a really cheap and effective way to actually maximise the people who are currently on your website. And here's a nice infographic that shows how it works. Hopefully my explanation was good enough. So what are the next steps? Well, what we're doing working with Don't Travel Empty is we can do an internet marketing audit. So I can get my team to do 5 hours of research, do a competitor analysis, run through all the sort of software that I was talking about, and just give you an action plan. So you can look at generating leads. This is entirely free for Don't Travel Empty members. It's part of a partnership. We want to help the coach industry do the sort of things that the brokers and people like Momentum were doing. But the chance are you might think, you know what, Marcus, thanks for the presentation, but don't really want to work for an agency right now, kind of doing all right. But at some point you might want to improve your internet marketing or to enhance it. It might already be very good. So if you don't want to go with us, here's my recommendations for going solo. Set up an AdWords campaign if you haven't done it already. And we're a Google AdWords certified partner, so we've got £150 worth of free vouchers. You've probably all been sent those vouchers in the post anyway, but if you don't have one to hand, I'll give you £150 worth of free spend. You don't have to use us, just off you go. Set it up. That's £2 a click, that's 75 people. Come into your website looking for your services. At more than a 1% conversion rate, you're probably going to get a new customer out of that for the half an hour it took to set up the Google AdWords and email Anthony to say, can I get a free voucher from Marcus? Create remarketing ads. Within Google AdWords, you can actually, there's a banner ad creator. You just get your logo, get a colour. It's quite straightforward. Obviously, if you've got a good web designer, you've got a brand, you may want to get it done professionally, get that done for a couple £100 and just get those remarketing ads going. I can't stress how effective our clients are finding them. And look at improving your conversion rate. Install Session Cam. There's another one actually, we're moving away from Session Cam a little bit now. We're using one called Mouseflow, which we prefer, but both do a similar offering of just free filming of people using your website, so you can just see what your target audience really think of your website. You know, you've actually got empirical evidence. And then if you actually get something back from your AdWords test, if you think actually, you know what, pay-per-click's working, the keyword coach hire leads is perfect for us, we're getting return on investment, brilliant, then look at doing SEO for it, you know. Make a couple of changes to your website that I've talked about today, those on-page changes. And if you didn't have any on-page before, you may have results that the gentleman at the last seminar did, that he increased his number of inquiries by 4-fold. Basically, he just appeared on page 1 and people started seeing him, because before he wasn't there anymore. And in the long run, aim for total domination. So have if you've got ambitions to grow your company to whatever size, you know, 1, 2, 3 million pound turnover, 5 million, 10 million pound, at some point to get to a certain size, you probably will need to engage with online marketing, because you can't really beat someone looking in real time for coach hire in York, and you're offering a coach hire York company. But to increase your chance of making the most of those people typing them, aim for total domination. And here's one final case study before I wrap up. Gordon Dean Solicitors in Norwich. We've been going founding partnership for 5.5 years, so I've had this client for 5 years, and that's probably why we've grown from just being 2 of us to 14 of us now in just 5 years' time, is that Gordon Dean will pay us £800 a month and has continued to, because he's always got good return on investment. But he gets more and more so as we go on, because when we started, he was nowhere to be found in Google. So we started off running the Google ads. But then we got him here. That wasn't good enough for Gordon. We've now got him here, and we've got star reviews. So if you're looking for Norwich solicitors, you can't really miss him. And that's the thing to aim for, total domination. In an ideal world, you'd have a YouTube video down here as well, just bumping your competitors down, taking up as much real estate on page 1 of Google, and you should be getting a great return on investment. And I think that's it. Thank you very much. That concludes the talk.